All right. Thanks. We're just going to jump in and get started. Thanks for everyone joining another Zoom sort of training. Welcome to the year of the pandemic. So I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, afternoon, early evening, to learn about how we link in-demand skills to the Canadian labor market. First, I want to do some introductions. I am Erin Baird. I am a senior account manager here at Emsi. I've worked with community colleges on the West Coast for just about 6 years. So I've been working with community colleges, solving their problems, working at training them, making them data experts, and looking at how our software and our tools can really make life changes for their students and their colleges and the employers in their region. Next, I want to actually introduce you to one of my colleagues, Dorian Clark. He's an account executive who actually excels at finding solutions for your institutions. Dorian is as unaccustomed to cold weather as you can get. He's originally from Florida. He came over to northern Idaho to play football at University of Idaho as a Division I athlete. I kind of asked what position he played, and I was like, they said something like it's a defense thing. So anyway, he can tell you more about that. Obviously, he missed out on the best game in the world, being from Florida, which we all know is hockey. As you guys are in Canada, those kids are born with hockey sticks in their hand. My eldest son is a hockey player. I spent many years across the border into Canada playing, getting our behinds kicked by the Canadian teams. So he's actually finishing his MBA this fall at University of Idaho. And what you all should know is he's an amazing problem solver for you. If you think, I wish we could, I wish we had, Dorian's the resource for actually answering that question. Next, I want to introduce my other colleague, Ian McManus. He's going to be running this training. He is a data expert. He's highly engaged in meeting your data needs, and he's going to be able to offer a monthly or every other month training for Canada-specific data. It's going to help you understand and leverage your data for all your institutions to impact your students and to connect those students with employers in your region, align your programs, etc. So this training is going to approximately take 40 minutes unless I continue to chit chat, then it might take 43 minutes. So please use the chat box at the side. We're going to answer all your questions. Dorian and Ian are actually going to answer all your questions at the end. What you ought to know is this training is recorded. So if you want to share with colleagues, if you want to watch it again, you will get a link to that recording. So next, I would just want to let Dorian add anything that I missed. He'll probably tell you that the first time he ever saw snow was in Idaho. So anyway, Dorian.
Erin, thank you for the great introduction. And actually, the first time I experienced snow was in Idaho. Luckily for me today, it's summertime, so I'm enjoying the weather. I'm sure many of you previously worked with Levi Wentz. Levi is a great friend of mine, and I'm truly honored to be stepping in for someone of Levi's character. I'm new to Canada. I'm also very excited to be working with you. If anyone has any fun facts about Canada or some rich history that you can share, please drop them into the chat. I would love to learn more. So with that said, I'm excited to get the training started today. So let's do it.
I would like to see Dorian on a pair of skates. That would be fun, because we all know the reason hockey is the greatest sport ever is because you have knives on your feet, you're moving super fast, you have to make mathematical calculations, and you're getting hit at the same time. That's why hockey is the greatest sport in the world.
I hear Ian plays quite a bit, so he have to get me out on the ice.
And let me pass it over to Ian now.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Erin and Dorian. As I said, I'm also a hockey player. I love it. So as there's talks of the border opening up, we're really excited about the possibility of coming up and joining you guys at events, conferences, come to school, in-person training, anything that may be possible here. It may be a while, but we're looking forward to it nonetheless. I actually want to come up in the winter because I want to skate on some backyard ponds, some of the frozen rivers, those kinds of things, and I'm going to drag Dorian along for the ride. So looking forward to that. I'm very excited to be with you guys today. Obviously, we canned it up around here in the office. I have to admit I had to borrow some attire. I'm looking forward to coming up and getting some of my own. But I borrowed some stuff here from some local Canadians. Brian Bailey is vice president of our executives team that worked in Canada for a long time, so he had some gear for me to borrow. We're gonna go ahead and jump into things here. I'm gonna lose the hat so you guys can actually see my face and see me at my full baldness. Let me slide a couple of things over here. I want to make sure that everybody here can see my screen. You got me, Dorian? Okay. So what we're going to do here, the challenge with doing something like this is we've got a number of folks on here who are pretty experienced analyst users, and a number of folks who this may be literally the first time you've ever seen anything. So there's going to be a fair amount of things that are at a slower speed. We're going to go through kind of everything. I'm going to give you a chance to hopefully digest things. And then, of course, as Aaron said, we are recording, so we can double back on things as needed, or you can speed things up. As you can see, when you log in here, the first kind of housekeeping things that you guys need to know as you come in is the support. You guys all know or should know that your contract allows for as much in-person training or Zoom training as needed. So I am available. Oftentimes my calendar is linked in emails. You guys can reach me, set up a calendar, 15 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, whatever it may be. The top right here, you're going to see the support function. That is a direct email and phone number to me. I'm okay with getting phone calls. If you guys want to shoot or give me a call, shoot me a text, I am open to that. So that's the first thing you need to know is right up there. The second option for you guys here, bottom right, this chat feature. This is called Intercom. This is something in-house for us that we use. This is monitored by other account managers like myself, where,
Ian,
yes.
Ian, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can you change your screen share from the page to the analyst? We can't see that.
Oh, it's showing, well, I've got it at Google Chrome. It doesn't show the pop-ups that you're saying?
Yeah, I'm still seeing your slide deck. I'm still seeing your slide deck. I'm sorry, everyone, just hold on just a second. As you all know, we have with technology, it brings great relief, but it also brings great angst. Yeah, I'm still seeing your slide deck.
Okay, hang tight. Oh, well, you know, it's a bummer because we tested all of these things right before and we're still, look, oh yeah, it all works, no problem. And here we are.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I might just take, oops, I'm gonna take this.
Well, there we go. There we go. That's great. Perfect. If you could just start over, we were all missing some of that. So if you could just start over from here, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
My apologies, everyone. Let's double back on a couple of things here then. So you're logging in. This will sound redundant, at least audio-wise, but now you can see what I'm talking about. The top right, couple opportunities for you to hit some drop-down menus. Support is what I was mentioning earlier, where we can see, you can see my phone number, email address, give me a call. I'm okay with that, shoot a text. If you'd rather actually talk to someone than send an email, I am available, I'll be more than happy to chat. And then the bottom right where we just were is this chat feature. This is it's called Intercom. It's operated by other account managers like myself. So if you're in a report and you get stuck on something, hey, this filter won't work, or why, you know, what does this mean? What's this term mean? What is blah, blah, blah? You have something, you just need kind of a quick answer, hopefully a quick answer. Shoot that in here. Just send out a quick message and we will get back to you hopefully within 5 minutes. And then also if we have to dig into something deeper, that we'll get back to you even via email as needed. So that is probably the quickest way to get a prompt response for something here if you really get stuck or just need more detail on something there. So please use that chat feature at bottom right. The other option for you guys here is a knowledge base up here in the top right. Now the knowledge base I wanted you guys to see is .ca. So this is specific to Canada, just like this whole training that we're going through here today, specific to Canada. So what this is, it's got a couple of things for you guys. We've got a glossary to where you pull up something and it says NAICS codes or whatever, and you go, what in the world's a NAICS code? Pull it up in the glossary and it'll give you a 1-2 sentence kind of a brief description of what that is, what that means. There's some how-to trainings in here. These are really helpful. Actually, they're concise, kind of step-by-steps through a lot of the trainings, through the reports rather that you guys can run. And then there's even some more detail as you get towards the bottom of those. You can take it to the next level. Some of the report walkthroughs, similar kind of a thing where it can take you these step-by-step processes through at least some of the basics to get you going on some of the report, and you can expand from there. One thing, there's two places that I want to highlight for you guys, the release notes. This is something that's actually, oftentimes we're asked pretty regularly, where are you getting this data? Where is it cited? How frequently does it come out, et cetera, et cetera. I want to show you this release notes right here. The best way for you to get at a lot of this information right here, if you know pieces, post-secondary student information system, what data run we're on with those things. And forgive, hopefully I'm not scrolling too fast here. COPS, where we're getting a good portion of the data we get from Canada, as well as just the chart when it's released, what's most current for you guys, by year for the census surveys and so forth. So I want you guys to know where that information is, as well as obviously a taxonomy chart here. And you can get back into older release notes if you needed to double back on something. So that is where that is. So that, again, top right here, if you needed a quick shot, I just want to show you guys those release notes. Also right here, you can click same information. It's going to show you at least data run, what we're on most currently. I'm going to have a little more information here, but this is where you guys can log in and out. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual report kinds of things. Today, we're going to be specific to the job postings data and the skill, even more specifically, the skills therein, how we can use the filters, how we can kind of play with things based on what we put in or even don't put in, see what populates, see what we can then do with that can lead to some occupations, to companies in your local area. You guys know, or if you're a regular user, the occupations programs reports are excellent. We're going to stick, for this purpose, we're going to stay in job posting. So I'm going to jump in here. Couple options right off the bat. The job posting analytics, often referred to as JPA, at least around the office here for us, is very commonly used. Ton of information in there. The job posting by location get really specific to see kind of some heat maps of like strengths and things that are coming up. Things that in your area, what's kind of popping, what's new there. Hot and cold skills by job posting. It's a pretty basic report, but it shows a lot of really interesting things. If we have time, I'm going to jump into that one here. If not, we'll set up a separate training where we can jump into that. I am actually going to start, for today's purposes, I'm going to start in a job posting table. So let's jump into this here. Now, what we want to do, again, if this is the first time you're seeing any of this stuff, there's a lot of kind of new coming at you here. With this, the first thing that we're going to do is select a region. I'm going to clear out Canada here. I want to show you just at least the options for what you can do, how specific you can get. I'm going to go into a jump or a by radius from address. And I'm not actually going to put an address in. You can, but I want you to be able to see, there it is, a Great North. I want to be able to just kind of Google Maps overhead if you're not familiar with an area and region to see what that looks like. So admittedly, I'm going to pick a kind of an easy one. So let's just jump into the Greater Toronto area, the GTA there. Select that, and I want to show how we can select this kind of radius, 60 kilometers from. You can jump out to, I don't actually know that there's a maximum 120. Dial it down to a 30 kilometer radius. What's really interesting here is that you guys can come in and we can break this down by division or census division, or subdivision, excuse me, census subdivision. So we can break it down two ways. I'm going to show you also that if given you guys knowing your region a little bit, you can select and deselect extra divisions. If you really just want to hone that out, add something in there, just cause to see, that area, you're looking at something in that area, you can add in. It's going to list all of the divisions you guys have below. And those are kind of your options there. So I'm actually going to, we would select that, it would make that an option for us here. I'm actually just we're gonna make things a little bit broad today, so we've got a lot of data to get to. I'm gonna search all of Canada, so we're not being too picky about things. So now we've selected the area, and now we have options to start some of the filtering. You can see down here we've got some custom data selections. I'm gonna start here with some of the basic ones, and then we can elaborate from there. In this unique postings in a time frame, I'm going to add that. So that's one thing we're going to be filtering. Why I'm also going to add the percent change. Reason being, we're going to set the time frame within the report, and the percent change is going to update. It's just going to show if it's growing, shrinking, and by what percent that actually is. I also want to show you guys, and this is probably one of my favorite parts about this, is the advanced options. We click that down right away. So we're still searching Canada. What I love about this is right away you see select occupation, job title, company, skills and qualifications. Now, why I show this is because this means that you don't have to start in any one particular area. Meaning, if you've got a program or something, and these kids are learning some specific skill that they're jumping into, and you go, okay, let's throw that skill in there and just see, is there a market for this in our area or the next town over or whatever it may be. You can start there. There's no defined starting point. Now, let's say you have an occupation you want to get into. You've got some people in a general kind of accounting degree. It's going to populate for you as you type those in by not code. If you don't know what a not code is, we can pull that up in the glossary, in the knowledge base here. We can start there if we want to. Don't have to. That's what's great about it. But within the report, we've got these same filters that as we put in certain things, we can add different job titles, companies to the filters to really get down to the data that we want to see. So there's no specific start point, and I love that. So what I'm going to do is I've actually got a couple of skills and qualifications. I'm just going to throw some stuff in here and I say, man, we've got, obviously everyone knows what Amazon is. We've got AWS as a skill. Now, as I put that in there, we've got just some these labeled out by Amplify, Mesh, Backup. We can scroll through this whole list. We've also got these kind of skill clusters, as we're calling it, which this has. I'm going to select this. Now check this out. Just with that AWS, within there, we can scroll through these 36 specific kind of qualifications within that AWS. Now, not all skills are going to have something like that. A fair amount of them do, as we kind of elaborate and new certifications get added to here. But we can select, deselect through here. I'm actually just going to take all of them, and then we'll filter down as we move on. Along with that comes a lot of, let's say, kind of some general cloud computing type. That's a bit broad, but that type of skill. Now there's cloud computing as just as a hard skill, as well as just the architecture and in Cloud Plus and things. If you're in that world, you may know a bit more about what those actually mean. I'm just going to pick that kind of large lump as, or that one skill there specifically. And we're actually just going to see what happens with that. And you may have noticed that some of those were defined as a hard skill. We get into the report, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that for you guys. So now, like I said, we're going to start with just a skill. We're looking at the unique postings in a time frame, the percent change therein. We're looking in all of Canada. Let's run it and just see what happens. Give this a minute. It's probably going to be a fair amount of data. There we go. Not too bad. So right off of the bat, a couple of things that I want you guys to be able to see before we even get into anything else. One, knowledge base, still accessible right there. Two, and we'll hit on this a couple of times, the save feature. You can jump into, say we go through the process of filtering things down, you see what you want to see, you can save this as whatever you want, and it will populate on that home screen right where you log in. That way, if you visit something once a month, quarterly, annually, whatever it may be, you can revisit this very same report and can update the data to the appropriate timeframes that you want. And it's right there at your fingertips. You can also export any kind of report. So given that we're in a table form here, we can export via Excel, a CSV. We're going to jump over later into that analytics portion. It gives us an opportunity to export in a Word function as well as a PDF. So exporting, and it puts the Emsi stamps and all the it looks honestly much like what you've got here, which is a wonderful feature. So a couple of things there. Now on the left side note, this is where all your filters for the reports we're going to get into, this is where they're going to live. So again, we started with where on the initial page, occupation, job titles, companies, we can get into that on the left side. We can just continually add things, take things away to get down to what we want to see. You can even exclude skills. Say you want to do away with some specific, something that's outdated that keeps showing up in postings or whatever, get rid of it, list it by name and not have it listed. Now this is really interesting here, this hard versus soft skill, and then even the certificate specificities. The hard skills are the things that within your job postings you're saying are hard actual skills that require some sort of a degree or a certificate or something like that, that is a skill that is I don't want to use the word demanded, but heavily required within a job posting. The soft skills are not specific to any one job posting. They're just showing up in a higher percentage within job posting. So we'll get into things, you'll see communications, management, these types of things tend to float to the top as needed skills. Those are your soft skills. So we can differentiate between those two, as well as just specific certificates through IT. You get into like nursing, healthcare, these kinds of things. There's specific health, or there's specific certificates that will kind of take you to the next level. So you can dwindle those down as well. We can get into the industry sector, the experience required. That's nice to be able to, if you want to, push things out where someone has to be at a place for 2-3 years, whatever it may be. The education level is kind of a big deal as well. We're going to see that in a bit more detail as we jump into that analytics side of things. But these are just filters we can add to here. Full-time, part-time, the flexible hours things. Intern has been pretty popular recently, as people, especially in the summer, have an intern in-house for a little while as well. Obviously, the remote versus non-remote, we're all living in kind of a COVID world, maybe on the tail end, some of us, COVID world. So the remote postings has become a much bigger deal recently, as has whether, this is posted by a staffing company, non-staffing company, we can filter out by that. The keyword search is a really handy option for you guys to be able to put something in that maybe you don't really know where to start. You can put in something in MS. I always say it wrong, and this is probably not the best example. I actually got to click into the box to type in there. Throw in something like that. It's slow, and we can filter specifically by that if you didn't have another starting point or something, or just wanted to see what would populate through that. So it's kind of like a skills thing, but much more specific. The time frame is a big deal right there at the bottom to make sure that if you can look back at 6 months, a year, whatever it is. We'll go back to, I think we're back to 2017, as far back if you wanted to. Just for the purposes of here, I'm just going to look a couple of months back here. We're at June most commonly, or most recent. So March to June 2021, the most recent data here. So forgive my scroll here, folks. We've got some filters set here. We're going to use those quite a little bit as we drill down into things. So as I had started throwing in a couple of skills, you can see these kind of larger buckets here that I'm gonna kind of bounce around through these right here to see what it's showing us, and then add some things to the filter and just to see what aggregates where we go with things. So right off the bat, you can see with these skills that we're looking at that unique postings and the percent change on the right side here. This is really interesting to just see some of the terms, and this is where really to just get this snapshot of what's actually a big deal, what's associated with cloud computing and the AWS, Amazon Web Services, what's most strongly associated with that. It's worth noting if you click, excuse me, if you click right on the blue link here, it's going to reorganize that and put the biggest numbers at the top for you. Let's do it by percent change here. So now we're seeing the highest numbers up here of percent change, which is just to see what we want to look at here. You could also, just for if you get into a percentage thing and you don't want to have to, you're looking at huge numbers of things and you want to drill it down, add to the filter, come up here into this percent change hypothetically, or you could really filter by any of the columns that you add, and we can say is greater than or equal to, I want to put a percentage. I want to only deal with the big guys up here, things that are really moving up. So we can filter that down right there. Now we're kind of dwindling down that list a little bit. I'm actually going to pull that one off. I just wanted to be able to show you guys how to do that there. Now, as I said, we've got some of these skills listed here. It's also worth knowing, as you can through any of these tables here, that you can select whatever you wanted and sift through and kind of clump things together as you see fit. If you know things that fit together, clump them together. You can add those to the filter and look at just those skills or company, whatever it may be, any point where those checkboxes are there. So let's jump in. Based on the skills we put in there, we've got a list of them there. We've got some percentage increases. Let's look kind of at the company side of things and just see what we've got here, just to see what's populating. There we go, into it. These companies, we're searching all of Canada, so these are going to be your big names. You guys may recognize some of these here, but to see that percent change, the unique postings, if it's increasing, decreasing, we can jump into an occupation specific. This is where they're using those not codes. Now these are a bit out of order because we rearrange things. It will typically start at 0011, I think, in a healthcare field there for you guys. So if you want to get specific about not codes, you can, and we can select and add those to the filter and be looking at just those not codes here on our left side. the industry of things. It's actually pretty interesting. You would think a lot of, IT is specific to certain things, but it actually goes far broader than what we often think, which is kind of what's interesting to see. The larger numbers of things here as we dive into just this broad set of data here. Jump into the job title. Now this is where, as you guys know, particularly with job postings, employers most of them don't know what a not code is. They don't post in the official not code. They post in job title. So this is more that real world language of what's out there in the real. They're looking specifically for Python software engineers, etc. So we can take a look at this right here, and I love that you can just jump into things and go, man, by job title. I've got some people who are coming in these kinds of skills, or rather with these kinds of several skills that can fit right into this type of job. Let's look right into some of these kinds of things and see what it is. Let's just out of curiosity, let's add these to the filter here, just so we can kind of see how things change. We can play with things. So now as we look just at those job titles, let's jump back at the skills side of thing and see what changed. Okay, interesting. Agile, there's AWS, infrastructure. We've got some hard and soft skills mixed up in here, but you see some different things. Scrum, I've heard a lot about, these Python, SQL. So it's interesting to see as we add titles, as we add occupation, what changes in these lists and how then we can take some of these things and add them to our filter and just see what could populate in with companies, with actual occupations. Let's get a couple of these things to kind of clump together, as I said here. I'm just going to grab a couple random ones here. Let's add these to the filters here and just see what happens. So we add these in. Obviously, those skills are going to be up at the top. There's going to also kind of lump in some other comparable type skills that we can then use. Now what happens when we get into the company side of things? What changes? Okay, interesting. Some of the names that we saw early on as we put that stuff in had dropped out. So it changes the companies now that we are looking at. And we've got that, this percent increase. Let's change that. Let's see, let's look at the top guys here. Desjardins, probably saying that wrong, I apologize. Scotiabank, Matchbox, some of these big companies, Infinity, big companies here. And then let's do this. So we take out these job titles and look back at the company. Okay, changes again. Let's bring some big guys to the top here. Pretty big increase here. Interesting to see how that kind of changes as we add things. So that's what I'm saying. You don't have to have a starting point necessarily, but you can use what is displayed within the tool to kind of add to the filter and change things and just see what it drills down to. So what we can do, let's say now we've got a couple of skills here. We've looked through a couple of job titles and even some occupations. I'm actually going to do this. Let's take a couple of these top names here. What's nice about this is there is a kind of a general fluidity through a job posting table and a job posting analytics report. So we could, if we want to, we can jump over here to the analytics side because I just wanted, that's where we're going to go next when you be able to see what that does. So if we select these things, we can take those things over to the job posting analytics side. We can also, as we jump this, we're going to see some different stuff, some more specific data. You can do that right here. Obviously, home is where we start. We get to that job posting kind of bigger bucket section. Now we're in a job posting analytics report. So we have taken, again, we always talked about those filters being on the left side here. We've taken those three companies, add them to the filter. We've got a bunch of skills that we dropped in here just to see what was going to happen. We've got all of those same filters that we can put in place here or add to, change around. But let's look at these companies for now, and then we're gonna kind of fiddle with things around here. So right off the bat, save, export, just the same as it was before. As I said, now you've got an option to add a Word, PDF export there, and you can save it just the same, knowledge base in the same place as always. We're looking at the overview here. So specific to these couple of companies that we had put in here, 137 unique postings out of 584. What that means, so in Canada, Emsi is scraping anywhere from 10,000 to 13,000 active job posting sites. It's just active. There are more sites than that. The ones that are active, those are what we're regularly scraping. So as we go through that, an employer posts on 5 different, one job on 5 different sites. We go through and match those through the language, the posting language, and deduplicate to bring you one unique posting. So that's where this comes up. You come from this 584 down to 137 unique, as modeled in this posting intensity. That is, says the means for every 4 postings or 1 unique job posting. So we've got that right off of the bat. Now, unfortunately, I'd like to be able to, and we will as we get through things, to have this advertised salary. It's a bummer not to have something like here, but the reality is most employers are hesitant to put a lot of salary wage data on the job postings. It's true in the States as well, but we'll be able to filter some down so we can see some of that data and looking at things. But I want just at least a snapshot of what this report looks like, and as we filter things around, everything is going to be in that same order. So the regional breakdown is kind of this hot and cold map showing kind of where the brunt of these postings are coming from, as well as even just some live, well, that one's not live, but we'll get some specifics here where we can actually put in some, we'll have some live postings here that we can reference once we change the companies around a little bit here. This report here, really interesting to see a lot of things, this kind of trend over time. That's a pretty good jump right there, as well as just to snapshot it and just see the last 30 days, what's actually coming up by number. And this is by education level, as well as the minimum experience required, where you get this this little bit of this breakdown at the bottom here. We can show that in a bit more detail. It's a good point to pause and show you guys where we can get into anywhere you're going to see one of these blue hyperlinks. This is where you have an opportunity to either see more specific of what they're showing here on this specific section, as well as we jump below into this who's hiring. And we've already got these filters or companies filtered in here. When we pull out some of these filters, we'll be able to jump to a full listing of the employers through a blue hyperlink that will be right here. So actually, let's go ahead and do that, because that's going to change. It's going to change a lot of the data that we're seeing. So again, the nice thing is that we can add and deselect anything at any point, and just to see what's happening here. So again, we're in the same spot, seeing this education thing. Now we get into this who's hiring. So what's wonderful is that we can add anything anywhere that there's these check boxes here. We can add anything that we want to the filter through those check boxes here, and we can see even a more detailed full list of all the companies that are posting here. We can see the top cities that are posting, this regional breakdown, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, your big names carrying the brunt of this. We can see the top posted occupations. Again, these are specific to just the skills that we had thrown in there originally by not code here. And the job posting titles, that real world language of what's going on, what they're actually going to list by name in these job postings. And we can break it down even into the industry side of things. And this is where, depending on what we're looking at, you'd be surprised that the industry isn't always, if you're in IT, it's always very specific to IT. It goes into, there you go, retail, trade, finance, manufacturing. So it's interesting to see where those jobs kind of ebb and flow. This is what we're going to kind of focus on a little bit here in a minute, is this hard skills side of things. Now we can't select these individually, but we can look at what is kind of topping the list for a lot of these languages, a lot of these terms that we can then add to filters, take other things away, and to see what populates. So we can kind of reverse think. You can start looking at a company and see what's specific to that company, flip it around and look at some of the skills that you see, take away those companies and see if they match, what changes, and add in specific job occupations, job titles, those kinds of things to get specific on things. The common skills as well. This is almost always communications is quite at the top there. Just the ability to communicate effectively with employees, fellow employees, as well as the people that you'd be working with outside of there. So these common skills, commonly referred to as soft skills, are not specific necessarily to any one job. These are just kind of the frequency that they're showing up in the job postings in the region that we've selected. The qualifications has become a really important thing to be able to add in specific qualifications. And again, it depends on kind of the industry, what you're looking at. IT has a ton of, if you do anything with that, you can get into full stack and all these extra qualifications that you can add on. Again, since we've got that checkbox, if we filter down, we can look specifically by who's looking at these qualifications from a company standpoint, from a even a salary standpoint, if we want to select those in. At the very bottom of this report, top posting sources. So I said we're scraping up to this, roughly 10,000 plus job sites, job posting sites. This is that list here, and we can elaborate as needed. A lot of these are just internal company sites as well. A lot of them coming from, I don't know how you say that. So anyway, let's jump up. Let's play with some of these skills and just see what happens. And we pulled out our companies. We've got nothing else here. We can clear this. Take these out. Still looking in Canada. Let's add in a couple of things that I know we saw on that list and kind of reverse engineer. I don't know that that's reverse engineering, but anyway, we're gonna, oops, forgive my typing here, folks. Let's jump into a couple of things that I know are going to be, oh, whoops, typed in the wrong box. Come on. There we go. Forgive me, I was typing in the wrong box down there. So let's add that. Let's add Python. Now that same thing we talked about early on, we can view and see what specifically within Python, add and deselect if it's things we haven't done or don't know what they are. Let's keep those on with some of the other ones that we had listed up on there and add those SQL. Same kind of thing. It's got some extra stuff in there. All right, that's a couple. Let's take those. Now we're not looking at any specific companies necessarily. Let's zoom back up to the top here. I'm taking a look at my time here, so I don't put too long for everybody here, and just to see what comes out of that. I'm trying not to scroll too fast. All right, now we're getting somewhere. That's a lot of postings. Now we've got something here. 65,000 postings that are listing this skill. We've got some, again, pretty average, but advertised salary by median. This kind of section of this report is a beta. If you guys can look at something like that, really interesting to see that kind of trend over time, depending on what you're looking at. If you got any feedback, we're all open to it. We want to really take any opportunity we can to make this tool better and more effective for you as customers. If you got feedback, give us feedback. We'd love to hear it. So again, let's scroll down. All right, got that regional breakdown. We've got an opportunity then to see some live job postings. And we can look through and just see, okay, by word, what's actually listed in here. Fun fact, if you guys actually use the, we use this keyword search down here. If we add in certain things, it will populate within these job postings by name, which is just kind of a fun, it's just kind of a fun thing. Let's jump back up here, maybe we can find it. There, you can see that kind of highlighted. So if you want to put in keywords and see how often, how, the frequency of certain skills or whatever it may be, how well that's listed in job postings, you can do so through that keyword search there. So let's double back. Again, still looking at those couple of skills here. Looking at this unique posting trend, pretty flat on this one. Let's look at the monthly. Well, maybe not. Kind of bumping up here, month over month. The education listed, bachelor's and master's degrees, as well as typically a fair amount of experience required and something like that. Now we're getting to some companies here. So now we're going, all right, some of the bigger names and how many postings they're putting out, how frequently, the duration that they're online. Okay, we can use that. Microsoft Corporation, some big names you see there. The cities they're in. Now again, we're searching all of Canada, so it's going to show a lot of your major cities. Now we can get into the occupation side of things. Okay, software engineers, no surprise there. The system analysis, computer programmers, a lot of similar kind of veins, but to see that occupation. Now again, we can jump in at any point and add these to our filter. Say, okay, how would this actually change things for us? Let's look at the titles and skills first, and then let's add those things to our filter and see what that looks like. The industry, in-demand skills, okay? Obviously, we should expect a lot of these kinds of things, but it's interesting to see if what changes. Communications management, still topping the list. Any qualifications change for us? Okay, Microsoft certified, kind of a big deal. Go through that process, a couple of Microsoft specific things in here. Okay, that's good to know. Let's see what happens if we add in these here occupations. Let's add them to the filter. You can also exclude, if you saw that really quickly, you can exclude them. If you've got occupations you want to take away entirely, take them out of their case. So where we are, same place, same order of things. Okay, companies, not much rearranging really, but just interesting to see that change in the number of postings. Let's jump down and see by occupation if any of these skills change. No, not a whole lot there. Now we can go, all right, let's take it back a step. So what happens if we're just looking at that, if we're just looking, oops, man, that's going slow. We're just looking at no skills, but we're looking at those occupations. Maybe we're missing something. Let's pull these out, see what happens. So now, again, we're just looking at these four occupations here. Forget my scroll. There's some titles. Okay, kind of a lot of what we would expect there. Developers, engineers, architect types in the industries. Let's see if any of that changes at all. Now, okay, so now we know a lot of this stuff. There's just some kind of obvious overlap within these skill sets here, but we have the option to see, again, the point is I didn't have necessarily a final company necessarily to get down to, or a final job point, but just to be able to show you guys kind of the process by which you can use what's displayed based on whatever starting point you choose, use what then comes out of the tool to filter down and to get to different levels of the data specific to these job postings. And that hopefully will help you guys see what's live, what's active in your region, what's most common, and what is, if you're tracking an emerging trend, is something we typically start in that table to see percentage-wise. All right, what's growing? What's all of a sudden there's this boom in this field. And again, we were looking pretty broadly. I encourage you guys to get more specific down to your region to be able to check those things. But the point today was just to show how you can take what's displayed, add it into those process, and just to see what's actually out there hiring, what data from a wage side of things is displayed. So without being overly redundant, I want to make use of the time here. I was trying to watch it pretty well here. I think we did all right. We're at 45. I think we were slated for a full hour. So Aaron, I would actually, given your extensive expertise with this tool in particular, I'm curious, what can we hit on here real quick if we've got a minute that I kind of missed or glossed over or something, and or do we have any questions that we could address?
You know, I'm sure that that was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Ian. There's a lot in this tool. What I love about how you can aggregate data, I really liked how you showed a couple skills within the job posting table, and you saw how those skills related to other skills. If you're looking for an emerging market, that's really exciting because you can see what's the emerging market in my region, who's hiring, what skills are they asking for, and what skills are those hard skills also aggregating into other job titles as well as into the common skills. So can you maybe talk a little bit about how you think understanding skills in your region would be valuable for program alignment for community colleges?
Okay. So I apologize. Say that again one more time here.
So can you kind of talk about, you know, when we're looking at all of this data, the question that most people are asking, okay, this is great, but how do I use this, right? And so I think of using the employers in your region and the skills that they're using as well as common skills. How do you align what's happening in your region related back to programs? You know, how would you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so yeah, great question. I would say the best way to do that is when you can aggregate the way we started and you're getting down to specific companies therein, which we didn't get very specific into the companies, but to be able to look at that, see the skills that are aligned with that, then you can jump back. Now I won't be able to jump into it in full detail, but if you come back to your homepage, then we can take and go into a programs overview, can add in a lot of those skills and that kind of thing, and see how, if at all, those tie to some of the programs you may be offering in your area, if it's at your institution, if it is somewhere even close, that you can then, okay, what are they doing to get at the training aspect of things for these skills that would then tie to those jobs? Is that kind of a...
I think so. Yeah, fantastic. You know, I think of it as, you know, what we're doing is that we have to always remember that community colleges are responding to what employers in our region are asking for. And so this allows us to see within any job title, within any, even in a keyword search, we can actually see all those skills and how they relate back to employers and how we should make sure that those skills are being taught within our programs. So I think you answered that very well. This is a really great question, and I can't wait to see Ian's response because I want to know. So I have the question here. Of course, you all know that Emsi had some really big news in the last month. We are merging with Burning Glass, and we're super excited about this. I think it's going to be a huge asset for our clients between these two powerhouses of data. The question is, any product changes do you think will be coming in the recent merger? Love to know.
Yeah, that is a natural question. I would probably ask the exact same question if in your seat. So it's such a big thing. The merger, as Aaron said, very exciting news. Really allows us to bring the strength of both Emsi and Burning Glass together. Now, the challenge therein is how do you actually bring those two things together, specifically from a software side of things. We have slowly systems in place to where we're getting the teams that would then create the software, much like Analyst, much like if there's any career coach users here, using those tools and go, okay, what's the best part of this tool? What's the best part of this tool? How can we possibly bring those together to where we're maximizing the strengths of the two and putting them together to create what we would hope to be excellent software with more customizability, is that a word? More customizability, more further reach, more granular data, broader spectrum, but it will, the answer that we all probably know and can kind of expect is that it will take time. I don't 100% know the answer of how we're going to mesh a lot of these things. It's still pretty new, admittedly. The news is what, we're at 6 weeks, 7 weeks, I think, from when that news actually came out. So parts specifically to the software and the data that we will then be able to produce therein is going to take time. Knowing that that's everyone's concern, as well as even just us, for myself, Dory, and Aaron, we're wondering a lot of the same things. We are going to communicate effectively with our customers, with our base, as we have things to communicate. So it will take time. I know that was one of the things, is that there will be a bit of a pause. There won't be anything recent or anything really new. I would imagine even within the year, Aaron, you might be able to confirm that for me, that there's not much really will change within probably the next 6 months, I would imagine. And then we'll be slowly rolling out changes. So that was a lengthy answer. I don't know if I covered that well. Aaron, what would you add?
I think what I would add is, for all of our users, this is going to be an exciting asset for all of you. We have been looking at how we pull data and how we aggregate data compared to how Burning Glass pulls data and aggregates data. And what we've really found out is that even in job postings relating to what Ian has been showing you for the last 40 minutes, we are not pulling from the same sources. So rather, we actively go search about 100,000 sites, actively posting about 40,000. And Burning Glass actively is also pulling from about 40 to 50,000 different job postings, and we do not overlap. So in the job posting world, this is going to add a tremendous amount of data for you. You're going to get probably 30,000 more active job posting sites, which is more data. So I'm super excited for the future. So I have another question for you, Ian. This is from the question on this is, what is the clip function in the exported report? That's a really great question.
That is a great question. Let's see if we can't, well, I don't know if it's worth showing here. So if we get into not all, let's just see what happens here. Let's run something so we can get something to go at here. Great question here. So yeah, these little 3 dots here, it's not all of the sections of it, unfortunately, but let's see what that does is gives us an opportunity to take what we have here, and it's just this section. So from top, from job posting, regional breakdown, where I'm at right here, we clip this content. So we're just pulling that chunk, and I say, hey, I want to send this off, quick email to a fellow colleague, whatever it may be. It clips, puts this right down here. job posting regional breakdown, you can rename that, you put your name with it, whatever. Export that as a PDF, send that off, save it, make it your screensaver, whatever you want to do. So that is the clipping function. It's not really, like I said, it's not available with all the sections, but some specifically you can just pull out that specific bit of data.
I would also add, you can do multiple clippings. So
Yes.
you can actually combine multiple clippings and export those. So if you're making a Word document where you just want to put in some charts, this clipping allows you to customize your export. You can remove that from your export, or you can just clip it. So those are all kinds of ways that we're allowing you to customize your reports for what you're trying to, what information you're trying to accomplish. So let's see. One of the things I'm really interested in is, and we don't have a lot of time, but maybe you can talk about how would you do searches? You don't have to do crazy searches, but how would you look at a search for an emerging market? Let's say something interesting like cannabis. Could you do cannabis? And could you, if you were trying to create a program around cannabis, could you do an emerging market?
Yes, great question. And this is something, again, with time thing, didn't have a chance really to go into it specifically. I love, and I know I have worked with Aaron now for a good 6 months and have learned a lot of these kind of tricks. This keyword search is going to be something that is actually going to kind of be really big for you guys. So, so let's put, I'm probably going to misspell cannabis. Am I spelling that right? I don't know how to spell it. That's what a dingus.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not even a good thing. How do you spell cannabis, Dorian? Do you know?
Cannabis is CANNABIS, I think.
Why wouldn't it correct that for me? All right, well, that's embarrassing. Nonetheless, all right, so we've got this keyword search that we're throwing in there. Can
you actually add some more to that for me, Ian, just so you can show, I can show. You can do cannabis, and we can say and or. So let's do or. So cannabis or, and then quotation marks bud tender or bud grower, and you can actually continue to add that search to really create that big field.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we can add. Sorry, there's probably a bit of a delay here, but yeah, cannabis and or bud tender to that very specific keyword search here. So are we still up in all of Canada here? All right. Yep, we are. So there, that's I know we can go through this report specifically, but that's just a good opportunity of the way you can use that. If you don't have I talk a lot about the kind of that starting point, use that keyword search. If you're not really sure what it is, oftentimes you can get into like this tenders, roll tenders, these other kind of specific things. There you go, highlighted within to see kind of what that looks like in what I would say can handily say is an emerging market. But now we can look in and take, again, those occupations, job titles, skills. Okay, what does that mean? What skills are associated with that? I don't personally know. Let's dig in. So to be able to pull that or add that in there and continually, now we can add some of these skills on the left side and see how more further specific we can get.
Fantastic. I think that's a great way to do a search. Even in your job posting table, if you guys do a keyword search where you're looking at something like data analyst and data visualization as a skill, you can actually see what skills actually group with those skills. And and Ian showed you that earlier in the job posting table. What's really interesting when we look at data analysts as a skill, not as a job, and data visualization, what job titles actually combine to those actual skills. So it allows you to really look at an emerging market and see how that crosses multiple industries, which is really helpful. So we have another question here. So can we use a keyword search for a more specific, like more than just for job titles or just for job descriptions? Jake, give me a little more clarity on what you're asking there.
In short, yes, but that doesn't mean that it will populate with anything. You can search whatever you want.
You can. And what's really great about the Boolean search is you can continue to add a specific job title if you want, but you can also do that just in your job title. So you don't have to do it by not code. You can just do it within a job title. Can you show them where the job title option is, not just the keyword search?
Right here, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah. we add in, what we at or the earlier software stuff, and it will populate other comparable, as those knock codes get closer and closer, we can populate in other things that will show you that kind of broader brush by job title.
Hey, also, since we just have a couple more minutes, could you also show the advertised median salary and why that's important, and how, especially in this time of pandemic, why is that valuable?
Yeah. You mean from a table side or just from an analytics side even?
From the analyst side. So just show put in a job, and why is that important? I love this because it actually really shows what's happening in your region right now.
Mm-hmm. Let's let this populate here. Yeah, as I said earlier, unfortunately, as the difference between like an occupation report or something, you have more detailed data that's coming from the government. Here, employers are oftentimes reluctant. I'd say it's probably, and maybe I'm wrong, Aaron, 25 to 40% of the time will they put advertised salary on. It's great when they do, so that you can then come to something like this and see specific the balance between if it's hourly, annual salary, how that's listed, and the breakdown therein.
Yep, I think it's great information. I mean, think about it in this time of pandemic. If the advertised salary, even if it's only 16% of the postings or whatever, if the advertised salary is more than what the median salary is that is reported by statistical labor market data, it tells you what's happening in your region. It tells you there might be higher need for this occupation. They're trying to get people into this occupation. So when you look at the advertised salary and you correspond that to actual statistical labor market data, that gives you a really good idea of what's happening in your region. Is there more need? Are they trying to give you bonuses? Are they really trying to get people into this job in your region? So that's fantastic. We are out of time. If there's any other questions that we missed, we will follow up with all those questions. You can expect an email from us. So, and go ahead and finish.
Yeah. Well, just a tap on using that posting. Well, I clicked out of it. That posting intensity is another just kind of additional aspect of what Aaron was just talking about there. To see that how often they're actually posting for this, and just gives you a snapshot of how aggressive they're being about looking for someone to fill this void. So anyway, I am delighted that this finally worked out. I don't remember if we said it early on. We're going to try and do Canadian specific trainings, myself and Dorian, every other month, hopefully, something that ignores the United States entirely and puts the spotlight on you guys up north. So be prepared for that. We'll jump into maybe occupations, maybe the program side of things, and maybe we'll see. We'll see what kind of data we have available, what we can use, and take it to the next level for you guys. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to, hopefully I hear from all of you. I won't keep rambling on. Dorian, you need to add anything?
I did. If you guys have some real pressing needs, you have some really interesting questions, go ahead and send them to Ian and Dorian, so that maybe in the future webinars that they're doing, they can address those on how-tos.
Yeah,
so you guys have,
actually.
Yeah, you guys have a fantastic day, and thank you all so much for joining us.
I never hit record. Hopefully that wasn't a big deal. You saw it?
No.
Dude, was my head cut off most of the time?
No,
or you were looking to think, okay.
Only thing that your camera froze.
Dude, I was like,
you're in a good posture. We got you in a good posture. So
good. That's a 50-50 shot, man. You never know.
Dude, that was freaking awesome.
Thanks, man, for sure.
Like you,
Sure.
You worked that training like a
You can be on. Hold on just a second so I can close this out, please.
Okay, please.